Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about the trouble and irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 I agree. What they're doing right there is extremely dangerous to our democracy. Don't ever take what we say here to be word or 100% fact, truth. Definitely don't take what they say to be 100% word, fact, or truth. Do your own research, connect your own dots, and that's what we're doing here. We promote thinking for yourself, doing for yourself, connecting all your own dots, listen to everybody, watch everything you can, read everything you can, believe none of it, not a lick of it, until you can verify it. You yourself, in your own right, all right? Only you know how to do that, what sits right with you. In the intelligence gathering community, you're going to read lots of things, you're going to look at lots of things that don't pertain exactly to what sometimes you're looking at, but you're going to be able to chew the meat, spit out the bone, come to your most logical thinking based off all the facts that you can grab and get. All right, it starts making sense. It's pretty easy to do. I know a lot of you are there, and a lot of you aren't, the new people. If you're new, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you ring the bell to get all the alerts for when we go live, when we do shows like this. Tons of different ways to get the word out. We rely on you to help share it across all your social media platforms. YouTube, for the short amount of time possibly, or whatever, they have allowed us to have members. Again, that's just if you want to support in any way. The button's down below. It says join. We want to thank all the newest members of the Patriot Hour family. There will be some unique videos, some members only, nothing of information like this. If anything, they'll get a 10-minute early window to look at something that comes out before everyone gets to see it. But there might be some behind-the-scenes footage that's only available. Never keep any information. Everything's always going to be free, just as it always has been. That's just the way it is. Okay, we got lots of things to jump into here, folks. A couple different articles I want to take a look at. And I don't have a desktop capture up, so let me grab this. And that is the wrong one. There it is. Okay. Get this pulled over here. We got the True Pundit. Well, before that, we do have CBS News executive Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell worked for Israeli intelligence. All right, we have reported on that here months ago, folks. This is nothing new. I mean, it was speculation, but that was my best guess, is he was working for Israeli. That had leaked out. We do have a couple in the new queue here. 3613 came at 5 p.m. Now this is almost a repeat, or some of it in here is. But it's talking basically about the news. All right, what happens when 90% of the media is controlled and owned by 6 corporations? Well, that link over here in this next one is what I broke in with. So that's been floating around for a while. Information warfare. It's all owned, basically. What happens when those same corporations are operated and controlled by a political ideology? What happens when the news is no longer free from bias? What happens when the news is no longer reliable and independent? What happens when the news is no longer trustworthy? What happens when the news simply becomes an extension, an arm of a political party? Fact becomes fiction. Fiction becomes fact. When does news become propaganda? Identity creation. How does the average person who is under constant financial stress by design find time to research and discern fact from fiction? They don't. That's the whole problem that we're facing. So, basically, you guys know this. When do you have time? If you're busy, we always say that we know you're busy in your schedules. Try to keep these short and sweet just so you can get tidbits of information. There's so much of it. How do you package it up to make it digestible? Majority of people more prone to believe someone is in power sitting behind a big brand news name. Do people, human psyche, tend to follow the majority mainstream viewpoint in fear of being isolated and or shunned? That's huge. Guess I can make this a little bigger for you and myself. So do people naturally want to be right? Yes. That's why people will be bandwagon. You'll see them with football teams. You'll see it with political parties. They would rather vote for the person that's going to win so they can be on the inside crowd and have something to talk about at lunch around the picnic table or whatever at your lunch room. I'm telling you, if a majority of people believe X, then X must be validated and true. Why does mainstream media heads with different organizations always use the same keywords and or catchphrases? Coordinated by who? By the owners. Outside an entity providing instructions. See, everyone's like, I know that lady. She went to high school with me. She's a good lady. She wouldn't be part of the... No, they are reading a teleprompter. Simple as that, folks. Do they count on the fact that people, human psyche, are more prone to something if heard over and over again by different and trusted sources? Your 6 different channels you flip through, they have the same guy on or multiple people with the label under them, like what I have here, the Patriot Hour. But maybe it says /scientist, /NASA expert, /government agent. I mean, those things will, author, just anything, that will, works for Harvard, teaches at Harvard, Yale, things like that. So do echo chamber tactics provide validation? Yes. Credibility to topic? Yes. Point being discussed? Yes. Threat to intellectual freedom? Would control over these institutions, organizations allow for the mass control of a population's viewpoint regarding a desired topic? So anything they can put out, they put through the system, all the 6 owners, and make sure that it gets trickled down. And then that video cutting in is what you get, and then the result. So read again to digest that. I would say you guys come here and read this. This is one that has been posted before, and it's good. It's good. Read it. Read it many a times. We are going to jump over to, and that, again, I'll show that came from Q linked over to Majestic 12. And there's a video there too if you want to. There's lots of stuff happening. Devin Nunes aims and fires at Barack Obama for his role in the Russian hoax. The media is covering up another Obama scandal. Here's what he did with Iran before he was president. And we'll get into some of these in another video. There's some good stuff coming out. But today we're going to focus on this. I'm going to read this one 2 hours ago. Again, CBS News executive Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell worked for Israeli intelligence. A former CBS News executive producer and former senior executive for Israel's Directorate of Military Intelligence, Ari Ben Menashe. Sorry if I'm butchering the names, I always do. Ari, we'll call him Ari, claimed Jeffrey Epstein and his alleged madame, Ghislaine Maxwell, worked with Israeli intelligence. Since the apparent death by suicide of Jeffrey Epstein in Manhattan prison, much has come to light about his depraved activities and methods used to sexually abuse underage girls and entrap the rich and powerful for the purposes of blackmail. Like we have said, his island alone not just had its own little Wi-Fi repeater router. It was a whole network to anything coming in and out of your phone. All right, text, internet, searches, just anything. The extent that he went to on that island, you could tell that he was working with some group. It wasn't, and to have everything, to see everything, to know everything. Unbelievable. So Epstein's ties to intelligence. He was blackmailing. Epstein's ties to an intelligence group described in depth in recent Mint Press investigative series have continued to receive minimal mainstream media coverage, which has essentially moved on from the Epstein scandal despite the fact that many co-conspirators remain on the loose. An interview with Zev Shalav, a former CBS News executive, producer, and award-winning investigative journalist for Narrative, the former senior executive for Israel's Directorate of Military Intelligence, Ari Ben Menashe, claimed not only to have met Jeffrey Epstein and his alleged madame, Ghislaine Maxwell, back in the 1980s, but both Epstein and Maxwell were already working with Israeli intelligence during that time period. For those, for those who have examined Epstein's ties to intelligence, there are clear links to both U.S. intelligence and Israeli intelligence, leaving it somewhat open to debate as to which country's intelligence apparatus was closest to Epstein and most involved in his blackmail sex trafficking activities. A recent interview given by a former high-ranking official in Israeli military intelligence has claimed that Epstein's sexual blackmail enterprise was an Israeli intelligence operation run for the purpose of entrapping powerful individuals and politicians in the United States and abroad. In an interview last week with independent outlet Narrative, Ben Menashe, who himself was involved in Iran-Contra arms deals, told his interviewer, Zev, that he had been introduced to Jeffrey Epstein by Robert Maxwell in the mid-1980s. While Maxwell and his Ben Menashe involvement with Iran-Contra was ongoing, Ben did not specify the year he had met Epstein. Ben told Shaliv that he wanted us to accept him as part of our group. I'm not denying that we were at the time a group that it was. I'm not denying that we were at the time a group that it was Nick Davies. It was Maxwell. It was myself and our team from Israel. We were doing what we were doing. Past reporting on Seymour Hersh and others revealed that Maxwell, Davies, and Ben were involved in the transfer and sale of military equipment and weapons from Israel to Iran on behalf of the Israeli intelligence during that time period. That's interesting. So then he added that Maxwell had stated during the introduction that your Israeli bosses have already approved of Epstein. Shaliv later noted that Maxwell had an intensive network in Israel at the time, which included Ariel Sharon, according to Ben Menashe. Read more. Let's click on that just to see. So this takes us to a mintpress.com, and former Israeli intelligence officer official claims Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell worked for Israel. This is icing on the cake. Unbelievable. So if Robert Maxwell did recruit Epstein and bring him to the family business and the world of Israeli intelligence, as Ben Menashe has claimed, it provides supporting evidence for the information provided to the Mint Press by a former U.S. intelligence official who chose to remain anonymous in the light of sensitivity of the claim. This source, who has direct knowledge of the unauthorized use of PROMIS to support covert U.S.-Israel intelligence projects, told Mint Press that some of the proceeds from the illicit sales of PROMIS were made available to Jeffrey Epstein in his compromising targets of political blackmail. So that PROMIS, was that up here a little bit? Sorry for scrolling so fast. There it is, PROMIS. So it was in this article I started reading. So the link between Epstein's sexual blackmail operation and the PROMIS software scandal is notably given that the illicit use of PROMIS by U.S. and After the PROMIS software was stolen from its rightful owner and developer, Inslaw Inc., through the use of collusion of both U.S. and Israel officials. Copy. Brian sold the bug software through his company, Harden Inc., while Maxwell sold it through an Israeli company he acquired called Degum. Following Maxwell's acquisition of Degum, the company was known in front of Mossad operation. Can an ex-spy be trusted? This is a crazy article, folks. Due to it already being 17 minutes in, I'm not going to be able to read the whole thing to you, but the link will be down below, like I always do, most of the time. If I remember, which I will. All right, so again, there you have it. Does that wrap it up? Is that it for us with Epstein? Probably not. We'll keep getting more and more. It looks like things are happening. If you saw the video about Phil Linton and his little escapades, unbelievable. Again, things that we've been talking about, and it is hard to swallow sometimes for people. Again, it's not about what you believe. It's about what these people that run the world believe and what they do. It doesn't matter your thoughts at that point. If you're investigating and you get to something that you don't believe in, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You have to keep going and try to understand what's going on. Okay, we're going to shut this one down. We're at the 17-minute mark. Again, I'm Mike. This is a Patriot Hour. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you're subscribed. Share this video, please, across all social media platforms while you can. And we'll see you back here on the next Patriot Hour update video coming real soon. Have a great evening.